What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. It is the 29th day of November. We have about 1 day and 10 hours and 27 minutes left in this month of November. 10 hours, 27 minutes left in this day. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. Here we are sitting at about $91,000, just below there. I went through and I looked since July, since this, this top area formed. We go to this Saturday here, and we look at every subsequent Saturday afterwards. I went through and I found that because today's Saturday, and out of all the days of the week, it seems as though Saturday is the most boring day. I was curious as to how many Saturdays had a greater than 1% move to the upside or the downside, right? And this is relevant. This is definitely relevant because understand today's probably going to be a boring day. There was 3 Saturdays that were over a 1% move. 3 Saturdays. I'm trying to find them now. Here was the first one. Here's the first one right here. The second one is over here. And then the third one, I believe, yes, was right here. So it doesn't happen too often, and we just actually had one relatively recently. Likely today we don't close 1% up or down. So likely today is going to be a very boring day. Saturdays are typically the most neutral day of the week, typically. I mean, you can go through and just look at all these lines. You can pause the video, just look. They're typically no-nothing days. The biggest day that we had throughout all these 3 was right here. 1.9% to the downside, right? And then we flip back the other day. Typically, whenever you have a red Saturday, you have a green Sunday, or a green Saturday might promote a red Sunday, actually. But anyways, $90,800 right now. Very neutral. We look at this on the 1 hour time frame. Odds are, actually, let's look at this on the daily time frame real quick, just so we can get the opening price. The opening price, not the current price. Where are we? Opening price right there. Odds are we don't close today above 92K or below 90,000. Odds are we don't close outside of that range, so that little $2,000 range, 92 to 90,000, somewhere in there. In the next 10 hours, 24 minutes, we will basically be right here. We're not going to move. 1 hour time frame. That's it. Pack it up. No more video. No TA necessary. Looking at this here on the RSI, we do have a bullish 1 hour RSI. We do. And we are clearly at the lower ends of this range, right? I mean, we've been moving sideways here, this is the most ideal look in any RSI. You want an uptrend. Those are great, but uptrends break. And typically those signal downtrends, which can go to the oversold zone. You want this. You want a horizontal trend where you're finding support consistently at the 40 or at the 50 or at the 60, whatever, wherever it might be. And you find support or resistance at various points here. You found support at the 60 here, the 40 here. We're not really finding support too much at the 50, but we're at this area where we have found support recently, and we're getting overbought without getting oversold. You look good. You look good. It's kind of interesting that you look good, but you've spent so much time still below the 50. It's kind of interesting. And then again, that's why you have so much neutrality here with these short little bursts up. That's what it is. This is like you're bursting up and then consolidate, return back to the normal, and then you burst up, and then it's just boring price action. We're probably going to see that again. But looking at this here, I would think that we're definitely coming to the end of our ropes with this consolidation phase. So we probably stay here for a little bit longer. Again, the end of the day is here Sunday. But I would assume from here we don't break down. We probably do break to the upside. Depends on how it goes. Depends on a couple of things. We can move up and then come back down. We can do that a little bit. We don't want to see the RSI go too far below 40. We don't want to break these levels. If we start seeing the RSI weaken and seeing lower readings than we've seen throughout this whole range, that might be a sign that we do inevitably break out of this range to the downside. And then with that, we might see some kind of overall retracement from the low to what the current high is here on the short term. So low to high, not financial advice, not a financial advisor. I don't expect that we're going to break out to the downside, but in case I'm wrong, because I've been wrong before, I'll be wrong again, the likely targets to hold this as support would be something around $88,000 or as low as 84.3K, 85.2K, somewhere in here, okay? Either one of these areas is likely where we would find support. Again, 88,000 to 85.2, 84.3, somewhere in there would be likely where we find support, a higher low, and then we move higher. Okay, so if this happens, don't fret, don't panic. It's okay, right? We can break out to the downside and still move higher. I'm not expecting that looking at the RSI. I'm not expecting that looking at the stochastics. The MACD is kind of weird, but you get a weird MACD whenever you're moving neutral like this. Overall, you're actually promoting a lot of bearish momentum here, but you're not going anywhere, right? There's a lot of bearish momentum, a lot of red, but you're not going anywhere. You have higher lows in your RSI, or in your MACD, in your histogram here. You're really on the oscillators, you're at a point where you've bounced every single time. So I think really what we're seeing here is signs of readiness to move up rather than move down. But again, it is the weekend. Typically we're pretty boring on the weekend, specifically Saturday. If there was a day, if you're somebody who's addicted to your phone and you're like, I need to quit looking at screens, but I can't because I look at the charts every day, I have to be aware of the price, Saturday might be a good starting point for you to get away from the screens, because it's basically a who cares kind of day. And anytime you make a significant move, I say significant, anytime you make a move that's 1% or greater, for Saturday that's significant, to the upside or downside, typically that next Sunday will go the opposite direction. So Saturday just doesn't matter. There's no football on Saturday. There's no church. There's no price action. It's the best day for a day off. Okay, 4-hour time frame. Looking at this here on the RSI, we are bouncing off the 50. We're looking good. Stochastics have reset. The MACD looks bullish. Typically, you guys know my theory about the MACD is that whenever you cross above the zero, you consolidate for about a day and a half to 3 days. Well, here we are on our third day right now. Literally on this 4-hour candle, we're on the third day. Or I guess the next one would be the third day. And sometimes, and I think I need to refine that range a little bit better, because it can be a day and a half at the minimum, and it's starting to look like maybe 5 days at the maximum. It can be longer. It can be longer too, but typically you don't consolidate too long here after crossing above the zero. And then the expected procedure afterwards, whenever we cross back up, whenever we start moving higher, is that this next move should be bigger than what brought us into this here. We should see something that is likely, I mean, just running with that idea here, from a low to a high, we likely see something that's bigger than this move taking us out of here. You know, let's assume that's the low. Let's be conservative. Let's say we drop a little bit, right? Let's go to 89K. We said 88K if we were to find support. Let's go to 88K, right? Maybe we go down that low. Maybe. That'd still be a higher low. That'd take us up to 101.7K. And likely not in the same amount of time, right? This would be by the 6th of December. Likely this would be faster. So, I mean, it could be by, the 2nd or the 1st. It's the 29th now. So within the next week, we should see prices around, if not above, $100,000. In theory. I'm going to put this line here and then delete the rest of these lines. All right, because that's like right there. So it's like 103K, really. 103K. We should see something up in this area next, right? I don't care what we do. Do we go lower? Do we move sideways? Do we move up and then we move down? Whatever the case may be, whatever path we're on, this is the next area from this move up. That would be my expectation. At least as of now, we'll use fibs to kind of refine this, but I'm going to leave that line right there. Stochastics reset, MACD looks good. Let's look at the daily time frame. Daily time frame, RSI is sad. This is a sad looking RSI. The 1 hour looks so good, but the daily looks sad. So we got to turn that around. That has to change. Lower highs. We have broken this kind of structure right here, which is nice. You can see that we're poking out a little bit there, not really respecting that trend line, but still you do have lower highs. And I mean, really, if we exclude this blemish here in early October, it's almost like you've got a downtrend, I mean, really dating back here. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like if you ignore some of these blemishes, it's really like you've got this giant downtrend in the daily RSI dating back to May almost, right? Or at the very least July, which makes sense because July is when we started to consolidate. Or maybe May is. I don't know. Maybe this whole consolidation phase didn't start here. Maybe it did start here. I don't know, right? Like, looking at this, it's like we had this move up and then we just kind of consolidated afterwards. We did spend a lot of time in this range here, even over here. We spent a lot of time in this same range. Like, most of this price action was, it's like it was one giant consolidation phase. And I've said that before, and we can kind of observe that here in the daily RSI. So it's nice that we have broken this trend line. It is nice that we've broken it, but again, we've broken it before and it didn't mean much. What I'm asking for, what I'd like to see here with the RSI, if it'll let me go back, there we go. What I'd like to see is that we get stronger readings. We get something that is not just above this high, but something that's above this high. We want to get back above the 60. We want to get above the 60. We don't want to move to the 60 and then reject We don't want to just get right above it and then reject either. We want to get above it and stay above it, hopefully getting overbought ultimately. That's really the goal here. I'm just trying to look. Let's run with this idea. Let's just run with this real quick. Okay. Because we've gone over this low point in the RSI. We've gone over this a few times. And just what kind of price action takes place afterwards. I'm kind of curious how long after each of these, let's do the last 5 iterations that we've seen at this level or lower, how long did it take to get overbought? Well, here, you weren't quite at this level. We said this level or lower, so let's be specific. This is good. This right here. From here to the overbought zone took you 62 days to get overbought. Notice here how the majority of that time of this 62-day period from start to the time you got overbought, you were moving sideways. Once you got overbought, that's when the magic started to happen. Okay? The next example here, from your low, let's just say, not from the time you came above the line, but from the low, that took you about, I mean, to get overbought technically, right? That would have been here. So that took you about 42 days. And again here, 42 days later, most of that time you're moving sideways. You didn't start to really show strength in this range until that 42nd day, and really even then until you got deeply into the overbought zone here. It was about, like 50, 60 days. We look at the next example here. You got overbought in a very short amount of time. But notice the difference, right? Again, similar to here, you got in and out. It wasn't that voluptuous. Once you really got into the overbought zone, that's when the strength came in. I would assume the same thing here. Even though you've got this nice overbought area here, I would bet that you didn't really start making progressive moves up until over here. Let's just see. This is 27. This is dramatically smaller. Still 27 days, still about a month. Okay. We look at this here. You got overbought. That was a nice move. And you actually had your nice move here before you got overbought, right? It was once you got overbought, you were at the relative high, to be completely fair. But from this point, right here, this is where the low was that we're measuring from. It's like right here. You basically did just move sideways, a little bit up, a little bit down below this line, but you basically moved sideways until here, until you got overbought, and then you started seeing some more productive moves. Yes, you had an overbought move here, but it was a rejection. It wasn't really that productive. Your more productive movements happened here when you got deeper into the overbought zone, when you saw this stronger reading. And that took 90 days. That took a long time. This one here, again, you're breaking your trend, but once you actually got overbought, it was 55 days. On the 55th day here, literally right there, look, I can't make this up. I can't make this up. It can't be any better. Watch. Vertical line right here. Not once you're overbought. Yeah, right here. Right before you're overbought. Right there. Right there. Notice what we're doing on the price. Right? That was literally the day that we broke out. The day that we got overbought. So just also for future references. And that took 55 days. You were moving sideways for 55 days. Here we are. We are in a downtrend still. Like you were here, you were in a downtrend. Right there. Like you were here, you were in a downtrend. Or a greater downtrend. Like you were here, you were in a downtrend. This was more of like sideways chop, but you're in a bear market, so it's a little bit different. This and before was all bear market. This afterwards was all bull market, so kind of different readings. But 62, 42, 91, 55 before you really started to see significant movements up. From the low that we have right now, we are on day number 7. We're on day number 8 right now, okay? I do believe Bitcoin will recover. I do believe we'll grow. We still have this $102.9 thousand price. I don't know, where did this white line come from? Oh yeah, I was showing that we were moving sideways because we had a lot of chop, but effectively we were just moving sideways. We can move up. We can move up, and we can still see a lower low. And we can still chop. And we can still move up afterwards. And it could be 30 to 90 days before that happens. And let's just run with that idea, right? Before we actually saw significant moves, it was 62, 42, 91, 55. Those are all the iterations that we have. Is that right? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I thought we did 5 for some reason, but that's fine. This, this is the beginning of the bull market. We'll just cut it there. If we were to do this at the minimum time that we've seen, which is 42 days, not until we got overbought. Because we got overbought here a lot earlier. Remember, here you got overbought very early. It was like 8 or 9 days. You did see a nice rapid recovery right here. But you weren't moving up. You were still in this consolidation phase. You weren't being productive until basically 91 days later. So let's run with the idea of when did we start being productive. 42, 62, 91. At a bare minimum, 42 days. Let's even cut that in half. let's take it a step further. Let's be extreme. Let's cut it in half. 24 days would mean, and this is in half of what the shortest iteration has been. That would mean that it would be December 18th, December 17th, the middle of December, before we actually saw any kind of productive movement that could take us out of this range at all. And that's if we cut it in half. If we go with the minimum that we've seen so far, which is 42. Did I do 24? For some reason I thought it was 48. Maybe it wouldn't be. Why did I do that? Because that's 42. It should have been 21. I'm showing my math capabilities here, you guys. I just woke up. This is my first video of the day, okay? It would actually be December 12th. Okay, so December 12th would be 21 days. Still, though, that's a little bit of a ways away. It's a couple weeks away from now. If we were to do 42 days here, I don't know how I had that little brain fart. I don't know where 24 came from out of 42. I just flipped the numbers around. That's what I did. I can't get it on 42. I can get it on 41 or 43, but not 42. So that would be January 3rd, January 2nd. At best, we're waiting until January 2nd. At best, it's early January that we start to move higher and take out these highs. Until then, we will be moving sideways, okay? And while we've seen some exciting stuff, and while we do have a potential target here at $103,000, 100,000, whatever, somewhere up here, what comes up will likely come down. We will likely consolidate. We might move up, and then up here we consolidate, and that's fine. Or up here we consolidate, whatever. But the reality is we're probably not going to do anything productive for a long time, right? This is just a reversion back to the mean. And everybody will be celebrating, we're so back, we're so back. We're not going to be so back until January at the earliest. It could be February at the latest that we come back, right? Anyways, let's move on. I want to look at the fibs real quick and just see where they line up with this area, because if the 4-hour time frame is telling us anything, it's telling us that we will likely continue to move higher. Even if we move down a little bit first, we likely do move higher from here in a very short amount of time, from a high to a low. That's right above our 0.5, right below our golden ratio. So with this white line being here, I would say then that from here, likely we either stop at $100,900 at the green line, or we push through this white line, which we got from the 4-hour, right, basing it off of what we've seen so far and then replicating that. Or we likely see something that's bigger, right, because that was the whole point on the 4-hour time frame with the MACD. Whenever you cross above the zero, you consolidate. When you start to run again, the move that you see is typically bigger. Typically, it is bigger than the move that brought you into this cross on the MACD. So if it were to be the same size and not bigger, this is where that line would be. This is the replica of that move from where we are now. If it is bigger, well, the next target, the next fib target, if it were to be a bigger move, would take us to 106.3K. So maybe that's where we go. Maybe we go up here. And that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of sense to be made from this golden ratio zone, right? Resistance here, support, 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 support. Kind of in the heart of this zone here. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Very key resistance too. I mean, 106K makes a lot of sense. So again, kind of a contradicting analysis almost, because we're simultaneously calling for boring price action while also calling for a several $100 billion market cap asset to run up about another 16%. Probably, if I had to guess, within the next 2 weeks. Probably within the next 2 weeks. And then from there, the real question begins. Are we in a lower high? Is this the beginning of the bear market? Do we go lower? Do we really move sideways? Do we hold support here? We move sideways here. Do we come all the way back down and hold a low, and we just have a very vibrant, wide, volatile range, and then it's January, and then we start to move up? Anything can happen. And this is January 16th. That's still within the mean of what we've seen in this RSI. So thinking a little bit immediate in the beginning of this video, and then more of the months to come in the second half. I don't really have anything else that I want to say. I think I've said everything I need to say. I hope you guys took something away from this. I do believe we continue higher. I don't believe that it stops here, but let me just double check that real quick. Low to high. Yeah, it would be really odd to stop here, but I'll tell you what, if we stop here, we come back below 84K, there'd be very little doubt in my head that we were going lower. And if we were going lower, 74K awaits, and if 74K doesn't hold, 70K awaits. So I don't feel like a real sense of urgency here, but technically there is some urgency. There needs to be, we cannot pull back too much. Of course, we could see a double bottom. Of course that can happen, but I don't want to. I don't want to do. Right now, we look like we're in a bear flag. You know what I mean? Like if we come down here, if we break out, the rest of the market might think the same thing, and that would take us down to about 70K. And it can happen. It can definitely happen. And then from there, maybe we recover. Then from there, we move sideways for a month, and then we move up. You know, who knows? So avoid all that worry, and just continue to move up. Get above. Do the thing that's normal, which is get above your 382. Go all the way up to your golden ratio. You know, kind of break out of this downtrend. Take us away from here. It's not probable. Statistically speaking, it is not probable to stop here. You don't stop between your 382 and your 236 like this normally before seeing lower lows. Right? You can see lower lows after going up here, or after at least hitting the 382 or the 0.5, but just typically you don't expect it here. And I'm not calling for lower lows. I'm just saying, right now, if we don't move higher, because it's so uncommon to stop here, if we were to move lower, we got below this daily low close on a daily closing basis, we got below 84K, or actually it would only be 84, it'd be like 85, 84.7K. We're in trouble. Because that would be a very weak reaction to stop here. It's not a common thing, but the only time that you stop here is when it is a weak reaction. And if we were to do that, that would make me think, oh my God, we've got a bear flag, and we're going down to 70K. So that's just something to be aware of. We don't want to give it up here. Saturday is typically a red, boring day. Sundays are typically good. Let's see if next week can provide some growth. If I'm right, next week, by the end of next week, if not the following week, we should be up around 106K. I would think we're up around 100K by the end of next week, and then by the end of the following week, the second week of December, that'll be when we're at 106K or higher. And then from then comes the really boring part where we consolidate. So I got nothing else. Thank you all for being here. Hit the like button, subscribe. I hope it's boring. I hope it's boring. I hope it's not volatile, which is weird for me because normally I actually like the volatility. But I hope that we move up here, and it's just boring up here. I hope that's what we do. I hope it's not we move up here, and then we move down, and then we move up, and then we move down. You know, I hope it's not anything like this, like what we saw back in, I mean, really here, but back in August, back in July to August of 2024. I hope it's not like this, because this, as fun as that is, I don't know. I don't know how fun that is, man. It's trying. We'll see. I got nothing else. Hit the like button, subscribe, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.